but I do have the icon in my upper left hand of my Zoom screen. It says live on YouTube. So yeah, on my screen. So I think whatever you're doing it right.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. There we go. Hey.
I do have the icon in the upper left hand of my Zoom screen. It says live on YouTube.
All right. I see it live.
Yeah, on my screen.
That thing. Wholeness and balance vibrations family. Go ahead and share this link out right here. I'll drop this in your Zoom, not your Zoom, your Telegram, and share this one as well. Wholeness and balance vibrations family. Sending love to you. We have an amazing guest today that we are tapping in and giving thanks for the union. Okay. So we're here. Clear. Sound is coming through smoothly. Yes. All right. Wholeness and balance vibrations family. I'm your brother Curtis Aru, the reflection of you. And today I'm honored to bring some current for the times and have a special guest that is going to help me illuminate the space when it comes to frequencies, vibrations, and all that is within the current that comes through. So if you got something on your heart and you can send it telepathically and it's tapping into part of the content that we're sharing today, please send it on through, hit it on through. And at the end, hey, let us know if we spoke on it. If not, put it in the comments, we'll read it and we'll come back to it. All right, my sister here, name is Aurora. I'm gonna give her, a build up first. She's one of my favorite, I guess favorite people when it comes to expression of self. Because when you express yourself, I'm an artist. So when I see people who have a mastery when it comes to speaking, being true to oneself, it's like a superhero. It's just a certain league of people who stand for truth and actually express that in a unique way that's not clouded with societal yeses and high fives. Like, you did what society told you to do. No, we don't. It's a different league of people who express themselves uniquely. I think of them as jazz artists, So she was one of the first people who introduced me to the actual geometries for the fluctuation of our body's magnetic field and how we can use these energies to traverse time travel truly, and really feel out who you are. Because when you start to, it's like you responding to, like, someone called you a name, and maybe your ancestor's name. Like, that sounds familiar. That feels good. And the application that came with using these geometries has accelerated my growth and expansion. Quantum. So we're talking about quantum technology here. And this is my beautiful, beautiful sister here, Aurora.
That's the most beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show and giving me an opportunity to share more with the people that are connected to you. The ideas that I have a lot of, like when you were talking about the math, or let's call it the formalism, like the way that things are formally structured. I have a lot of that to share. And I can't pretend that that's original to me unless I go way, way back and like to the level of creatorship. So there's this ongoing music that I didn't invent myself, but within that music, what I have to share is a song that I wrote that's a form. It is called the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So Curtis, I've known you for many years. This is not new for you, but I'm introducing it in this way for anyone who's watching this for the first time, or who may not know, or may have heard this, but they don't really know what it is. And I loved your description when you said that learning these geometries was like getting back home, like back to your ancestral home and the realness of who you are. That is what I am here on earth trying to communicate. So I'm a walk-in, I'm a galactic presence, and I'm not usually in the form of a person, like a female, a human. This is all very new to me. And I have many, many funny stories of like Aurora as a fish out of water, all the things that I did not understand in terms of social conventions and habits, and also even just basic communication, because I come from a place, we were talking about this, that's purely telepathic. Where I come from, my home world, where I'm used to residing, we do not use this laborious and distortive, dysfunctional way of communicating called language. And that was the greatest challenge of like coming here into a human body. I have all of this information that's abstraction to be able to share, to communicate with the very real agenda. Like I don't pretend in any way, like I'm here on a mission or I have a purpose. Like I didn't just come here for a pleasure cruise, you know, like just to go sightseeing and see what life is like here. Like the truth is, we're aware on the higher dimensional levels, we're aware that life down here is extremely dysfunctional, that there is profound suffering, and that awareness is part of what gave me the motivation to create. This is an interdimensional portal, this shape, this form, and to be able to use that portal as an entryway into this level of reality, to be able to bring in some of these ideas that are the ideas of freedom. It's kind of like for the people that are here, like Curtis and the beautiful people that are here, like I call it the innocents, because there's a whole mishmash of consciousnesses that are here in this level of reality. Some of us are innocent. We didn't do anything bad or wrong. We don't deserve to be tortured or tormented. Like we got abducted and imprisoned or confined here. So think of like a tiger or some animal in the jungle that is just living its life. And then someone comes along and puts it in a cage and brings it to a zoo or some kind of enclosure. Like that's what happened to people like us. But then of course, there's other beings who are profoundly evil, and they're like, volunteering. They're like, yeah, like I will go on down there, but only if they get a cushy gig in the Matrix, right? Like that movie.
It's amazing because as we begin to talk about different dynamics of being on this planet, you know, this planet is, you know, ancient, for lack of better words, eons old, and has a teeming with life and different what we call noise. Life has dwelled here. Different epochs of time that's introduced different evolutions of humanoid and whatever else that has been here. And I was thinking about, we were talking about a walk-in, and how one of the biggest things that a lot of people talk about, what if aliens actually came down? And this came through the mind like a while ago. And I was like, well, I have children, like, and my littlest one, he is going on 2 years old in about 4 months. And 3 months, and just watching him develop is definitely something like otherworldly, because it's coming in with a different look, type, and kind of growing into the space, learning, speaking his own language, you know, before we influenced because for a while, anything he would say, I would just repeat off to him and try to get the same utterances of my lips and like whatever that means, and just try to keep his vibration from, you know, being distorted. No, even though we know he'll grow into expand, continue to expand, or maybe decrease, you know, in languages, from having his own vibration to having what we say is communicating properly, and having some of those same correlations when hearing you talk about where you came from and seeing some of those same things. But you got it at, you maybe at the age, well, I don't know what age you came through, but
age 27 was when I walked into here. Yes.
Right. And now we got, you know, and then we see the graduation of it. And there's so many dynamics of it, and learning plopped in here and learning all how to communicate from scratch is, guys, because I know that's one of the things I deal with too, just learning how to communicate. And a lot of people who are going into these higher echelons of awareness, how to break these things down into words, or feeling frustrated that we can, even babies cry, I don't understand what I'm saying. So can you tell us a bit about what you did to enable yourself to speak in the way you do? Like, I know one of the things, you create your own definitions, or like, you know, and that's one of my beautiful things that you do. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you for that recognition. So actually, words are really a challenge to me for two reasons. There's just the beginning, that words are very, in the way that they are designed is intentionally flawed. That's from the people who, or whatever, overseers of this world that want to keep you as just like a low performing, like loser at the bottom. They're like, let's screw them up with language. So the reason it's like planned obsolescence that goes into technology. Words as a technology are intentionally flawed. But then on top of that, I came into this body that had a lot of brain damage. Like that is what caused the death of the person that used to be in this body. And so for me to come in as an abstraction and an otherworldly presence into a human body that had problems with the language centers of the brain. So I didn't know what it was called back then, but I just knew that I had to jump up and over the damaged areas to be able to kind of find a way to use this apparatus to be able to communicate. Now they call it neuroplasticity. And now I know the word for it is what I should say. When I first came here, I did not say to people, I will now do neuroplasticity and rewire my brain. I didn't know anything about that.
Right.
In fact, I'm super new to even having a body. Like I didn't know so much about that other people know that is normal about diet and nutrition. I literally just copied what people did around me. And that was how I learned about having a human body, which you guys can also imagine more fun fish out of water stories, because I was not surrounded by like the best Olympic athletes. Like I was surrounded people that smoked Newport Lights and drank a giant coffee like this and were stressed out all the time. Like I'm talking about like old bosses that I worked for. I'm like, okay, like this is how they do it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to smoke what they smoke and get a giant coffee like they do. And then after a little while, I was like, this is not how you're supposed to treat a human body. We need to stop doing this. So
to jump in with some of the correlations, because that's, I'm a teacher as well, and well, just observer of humanity as we express ourselves. And that's exactly how some parents are. Like some parents, they have, when you're raising a kid, you raise them in that environment. And I remember seeing a kid, because sometimes you do things as a kid, he was a freshman coming into college. I was a college instructor, and he was smoking a cigarette. But how he was holding it, it was so weird. I was like, "What are you doing? I said, you don't even smoke. Like, what are you doing? Like, put that down. Like, cut it out." And he was like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Curtis." And he put it down. And I didn't see him do it again. But it was that awkward. Like you were just trying to start, hopping on a path that wasn't your own. You just wanted to try it out.
That's it. We're taught to do these things that are non-normal things for the human animal. And that's the process of domestication. So when you mention your little son who's here, he's a wild, undomesticated being. But it's called culturalization. You learn how to be a civilized, polite person. You learn how to wear shoes and not just pee and poop wherever you want to, whenever you want to, and all these things that are essential for being in the world, but that they take away our wildness from us. And yeah, I came into an adult body, but still very wild and undomesticated. And there were many, many things that I did not understand or know about. And you asked me about communication, so let me be more on that. It took me many years to learn how to make my brain connect to my mouth. Like when I had ideas, how to put them into words and actually make them come out as the words that I was choosing. But then it also took a long time for me to be like, okay, I have this concept that I have made a sculptural form. And then how am I going to tell people about what this form is? Like for a long time, I would just show it to people and be like, okay, like, this is it. Like, this is how we talk in heaven, like, this is it. This is the verbal structure. And they weren't getting it. And that was when I had to recalibrate my expectations, because in spontaneously coming here as a walk-in, I didn't have a plan. I didn't say like, oh, like first I'll do this, this, and this. I just was like, I'm just gonna go down there, flying rainbow lasagna, and then, just show it to them. Like I thought that would be enough, perhaps in my naivete or whatever, but like that's how an otherworldly being thinks. Like I'm just gonna hop down there and make the lasagna and show it to them. And I thought I literally thought that my mission would be done in 2003. I'm like this. I'm like, every job well done, accomplished. Let's fly off to the next adventure. I was like, no, it was not accomplished, because even though I presented this concept to humanity, it was not sinking in. And that was when I had to figure out some way to put it into, let's say, bite-sized pieces that people could even grasp onto. Because everything, like as I started to make paintings that were more complex and all of these things, I was always trying to communicate with pictures and diagrams, and in my mind they move like animations, but I didn't yet have the software to be able to do that. That came many years later. So I was always trying to find some way to display it to people, but mostly using artwork. And that was like 2003, 4, 5 or so. Now, and I always have loved music, but now I also attempt to put these informative waveforms into a musical format too. So I mostly, when I first came in, was trying to communicate through the visual arts, but now I also communicate through the auditory arts. But like you, I recognize that just being focused and creative was not enough to get through. Like there's like a hard shell of the intellect to break through, to connect to humanity. So I started to, like, in a very stumbling way, back where I came from in Woodstock, they have a community access TV theater. Like, you don't have to have money. You sign up, it's free, it's for the community. So I signed up for my own TV show in the middle of the night, like intentionally. It was like, a very small little broadcast studio, and you have to go to the police station to borrow the keys. So I made friends with all the policemen over there and pick up my keys. I know, totally. And then I would go in there and I would do these middle of the night broadcasts of like I stumbled over everything. I would always be like, don't worry, like no one's listening. It's the middle of the night. Like that was my way of doing this. And then sometimes people would see me on the street the next day and be like, I saw you on TV last night. I'd be like, oh no, like hide away. But then they would encourage me and say, I liked what you were saying, keep going. So that was my beginning little planting of the seeds, where it took me a long time to be comfortable speaking in a video, choosing the right words, describing these very abstract concepts. And Curtis, you picked up on it. I use a lot of analogies. Like I try to find a way to take something that is already familiar, like you already know, got peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we will describe flying rainbow lasagna in the mode of what you're already familiar. So everything that I do pretty much is like, how can I find something that build a bridge? Like you already know about this, and I'll tell you about this, kind of like make a mishmash. And that's, I've come up with my own analogies, with my own quirky language structure to be able to do this. And after talking to people about it for a long time, I decided, like very saucy, like a very attitude decision, like, oh, well, I'm just going to become a teacher. Like, I do not have an educational background. I'm from another world. Like, I know how to draw and paint, but I just decided that I would call myself Professor Aurora. That would help people to listen. So I started to do online videos, and that was like around 2008 or so, where I started to do whiteboard videos that you didn't even see me, but you just heard my voice describing things, and I was drawing diagrams and things. And even those stumbling beginnings were a way that I could put cosmic information into an accessible form and then send it out to a lot of humans. And so that was the beginning of what I do for my class, Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. But I did like these little lessons for a long time, and then I made it into like a thing that makes sense, like, with that you go through from the beginning to the end, and it made sense. Like I realized also I had to go be more linear in my way of presenting things, because where we talk in heaven, where things are, like, it's not a linear conversation, like it's very bouncing around and all over the place and circular and looping back to other references. It's a much more poetic way of talking about things. So I took more of an academic approach. And that was right around 2012, when it was also this sense, everyone had a lot of expectation, like everything's going to change, it's going to this and that. And I was like, okay, I don't know what direction the world is going to go in, but I just knew for my own journey that I had to leave, like, the studio is very comfortable and safe for me. Like I could just very happily, the quarantine is not weird for me. I'm like, I can stay home and paint all day. This is normal for me. But the things that are hard to do is communicating with people and making that connection. So just like for anyone who's an introverted creative person, I relate and I love you. And you could sit home and write a symphony. Like that's the easy part. The hard part is like talking to people on the phone and meeting them in person and trying to describe your work. But
that's part of that vulnerability that we all have. Like it's like, I don't want. What would they say? What would they think of me? What would they? And I think that's also what I think you mentioned it before, like a disease of the space, and just breaking out of the soil, like, and as the plants do, breaking out of the soil. Is the sun really going to talk to me? I heard it talk to everybody else.
because there's vulnerability. Like when you make a thing, whatever is your thing, and then you share it or show it to other people, there's vulnerability there because you don't know how they are going to reply. And also, like when I first came to this world, I was much more insecure than I am now, because it's just like if you went to a foreign culture and you don't know, like, what are the rules, what's cool, what is rude and horrible,
Right.
what do people like. I had to learn so much about the way that people do things here in this world to learn, like, what is cool, what's good art. I had to learn all about art
Right.
and music in this world so that I could even make an offering that's something that people would see through that filter and then decide whether it's good or not. That there's a lot there. So like I am very about like being an individualist and be like, yeah, like wear what you want, say what you want to say, be your true self.
Right.
And also, like when I first came here, I wore outfits that are bizarre and weird, thinking that I was fitting in and sending a certain message. And I had to learn, like, that I didn't have an intervention, but I watched that show that was about fashion do's and don'ts. And then that was my inner light bulb moment when I was like, okay, the message is not getting across. We have to change the outfits. Like, that's how it goes. That's how, like, you make a reassessment where you're kind of like, okay,
Right.
is this, and that, so now, because everything has a social meaning, like if you wear a certain type of hat, it means something, or if you wear your bandana knotted on this side of your neck, it means something. So I had to learn all of those types of rules to be able to know, like, I'm sending the right messages and presenting myself in this social context, even in the way that I want to. So now I've been here for 19 years. Now I understand like everything. Like I know but I had to learn of even
Right.
simple things, like with makeup. Blue goes on your eyes, red goes on your lips, even though now people do opposite things. But
Right.
those are the general rules. And if you don't follow the rules, then they will be like, what is, but they might think it's high fashion. But now I have more confidence.
Depends on where you are. Exactly. And family, I think we got a few people tuning in. Some people might be using the other link, but we trust that they find their way whenever it's in resonance. We'll be here. It's something that will stand the test of time, and those coming in, it will be in resonance. Today, again, so if those are sticking with us, we thank you for being here. We honor your presence, so we'll honor your presence also by also sharing some gifts of our expressions of art. I have my saxophone over there hanging out. We have an experiment that we're gonna do a bit later on sound. Do some cymatics with some sand. You can see some shapes and geometries of sand to reinforce the content that we're sharing today. And also, we're gonna also have some visuals to give. And around our words, but we're getting that together. What we're talking about is sound and frequency. We know everything vibrates, everything moves, everything shakes. My computer's over here vibrating because the fan is going wild. The computer's hot. So like sound. When I say hello over here, somebody behind me is gonna hear me because sound goes in all directions spherically. And based on the sound, it may travel at different paces. So it may hit those spaces at different times. So our heart have a beat. Every organ, every part of us has a sound. So you have your own orchestra going on right now. And it's amazing because once we begin to see each other as reflections of each other, these orchestras begin to play together. We begin to dance together. We begin to, next to the images that came to my mind just now, I just seen galaxies connecting with each other and then spiraling together. And so with that resonance, Aurora, can you please show us some of the imagery that you may have, or I can share it as well. Just let me know which one to click, and you can just talk if you like to too.
Absolutely. I mean, okay. Now I go nonverbal because I'm like, oh my God, let me show you everything. Yeah, I'm going to do share screen. So with your permission,
got it.
And I'll show you. Here's just one. So this is a painting that it's done by hand, is what I have to emphasize in presenting this to anyone who's new, who doesn't know my stuff. And this is actually, it's zoomed in. It's a smaller, there you go. You can see it's there. So this is a 4-foot panel, and it has all these different figures that are in there. But if I zoom in more so you can see, so there's the human shaped or anthropomorphic figure that has arms and legs, and we're familiar with that. But then surrounding and going throughout that anatomy of the human, there's this other level of anatomy. And it's what is known in the Far East as your chakras, because they are spinning wheels of energy. When I describe this, I want everyone to consider is that this is your time body. Like this is your anatomy of time. When Curtis talked about everything being vibrations, that's that's correct. It's very apt. And the biggest challenge in coming here into this world where, like, let's say everybody here needs to level up in order to kind of like get up to speed with the rest of the cosmos. Everyone here did not understand frequency and vibration. Like everyone here was very objective materialist, where you think like here's a thing, like it's a big hunk of stuff that's in front of me. It's a chunk of hunk of stuff, as opposed to a frequency, like a waveform, something that is intangible. So what I paint and draw are the representations of things that are essentially intangible. They have a form, but it's not a form that we can sense with the five senses. So the patterns that are in these paintings, and there's many patterns. Sorry, there a thing came up. I had to click a thing. When you see my artwork, it's the same pattern, but it's different riffs all the way. And the reason why I use those patterns, it's not that I just made it up or I chose randomly. There's like a great composer, like Mozart of the cosmos, that wrote this music, that this is perfect divine music. I'm talking about God, but not a God of the Bible, like a abstraction, not a man with a long beard that lives in the sky. And no offense to anyone who is about like a Bible interpretation of reality. Like I respect you, but that is not where I'm coming from on this. This is an abstract composer that wrote this music. And then how do you get to be alive? You get to be alive by making your body being go in the right patterns that fit like puzzle pieces along with the rest of the music of the cosmos that is already being played. So what we're experiencing right now, I could use the language of war and say we're in like a war or a battle, like it's a spiritual battle, definitely. But also this is about an attempt to rectify all of these patterns that are here where I'm waving my cursor. A lot of these patterns have been disrupted by artificial technological ways of controlling the timelines. So my work in coming here as a galactic visitor and making these paintings and making these sculptures and sharing them with everyone, a lot of my work is about healing your concept of what time is so that you can be free and navigate time more effectively. All of the people in this painting are connected. Like they might not be holding hands physically, but you can see that there's all of this integument of time that connects their lives together. And you have to understand that that's truthful in this realm where you are. Like you're that there's a human song, whatever, no man is an island. You don't just live your life as like one little cutout person surrounded by a sea of nothingness. Like you meet and interact with other people and your timelines intertwine with their timelines. Your decisions and your behaviors and what is possible for you is being impacted by other people and is impacting other people. Here, I'll go back to my face and then I'll bring up some more paintings for you. But that, and you can also see some things in the background and you can see what I'm wearing here. There's a co-responsibility of understanding, just like when you're in a symphony, what you emanate outward as your beingness or as your music. Other people are hearing it, other people are being affected by it, and you have a responsibility to the whole. So you would never want to be like playing awful, horrible music, or some musicians just want to solo all the time. Like, do,
Right, right,
I sound
right.
so good. But then
I give
also,
some to the bass. Come on now.
that's right. Or even like the piccolo, like no one can hear the piccolo because
Right?
the electric guitar is so loud. Think of that in terms of personality characteristics and organisms.
Mhm.
So here in this world, I make fun of it all the time, jokingly. I call it the barbarian value system, which is
Mhm.
basically might makes right. If I'm the biggest and the strongest, then
Mhm.
I get to do whatever I want and I get to poop all
Right.
over everyone else. As opposed to the galactic society that I come from, let's call it the sophisticated, cosmic, higher dimensional world,
Mhm.
where there might be very delicate notes on the scale that you want to hear in the music, When I'm
Right.
making the song, yeah, I balance out the instruments where sometimes I bring everything else down so it's not so loud, and I turn the percussion down so
Mhm.
that you can hear the delicate little flutes or whatever it is. So in this world, like they say, like, well, you know, it's a capitalist society. If you want money, get out there and earn it. And like, if there's this sense of, or like survival of the fittest, right? Like, well, if
Mhm.
you don't work and if you don't this or that, then no one's going to help you. That's not a cosmic value.
Right.
That is only appropriate to this little social cultural bubble. I had to learn
Mhm.
so much about competition because we don't do it that way where I come from.
Mm.
Just like you don't compete in a band. Like I would never be like,
Right.
I'm taking out my violin and I'm hitting you over the head because I
Right.
want to play louder than you. Like
Right.
we don't do that at these higher dimensional levels of
Mhm.
cosmic interaction. What you are always trying to do is to mesh what you are with the other organisms. You're
Mhm.
trying to be a good player, not a bad player. So the challenge at coming down into this world here is most people don't know that they're even in a band or a symphony. Like that's a newsflash, in a band with other organisms, and you're all playing the instrument of your body and you're all affecting each other.
Mhm.
And then the value system of, hey, you shouldn't just try to be loud and be the loudest and be like power tripping on that all the time. That the best players are sensitive to the other musicians, and you actually give breathing space and give elbow room for them to express themselves. And there's this like humbleness. Doesn't mean you're not good. It means that you're like, I'm just gonna let you have some space
Right.
because you can't solo all the time. It's
Right.
working together.
Right.
What are you sending up there? You got something good.
Yeah, I'm setting up this for to see the sounds to bring
Yeah.
more validity to it. So we have a sound, actually a sine wave generator here. Again, it's outside of the frame, but we also have a frequency generator here that's going to generate the pulses based on the vertical up and down on this thing called a clocky plate. And to basically see the vibration that we emit, this actually only goes up to 399 hertz, I believe, this machine. So we only see, this spectrum of sound. So this thing is called a clouding plate, and it actually vibrates with it. But so as I get it together, I tell you a short story of so I was a part of a band, mini band, with the sax, a marching band. So marching bands at my school was called Benedict College, and it was a historically Black college and university in the community in Columbia. And we have a marching band, and many people I've learned, it's like when I talk to some people outside, let's say out west, they don't really know much about marching bands. I'm like, this the thing here, like big band marching bands, where like when we dance and play, or we get down and with the horns and jump up, crisscross, roll with it, and it's like we going. And it's some places have 300-piece bands, some places have just a variation of it. I was probably about 170 or something like that.
That's a lot.
And right. So when I first got this information, we're talking about sound and music, how you feel it, and actually has a shape called cymatics. So cymatics sort of shape the sound makes, until we get some other definitions that aid us in description. And I was like, oh my goodness, what would it be like if we could see an actual the band like this, when like these things can be heard a mile away when you and the sound can be heard a mile away, like with the echoes. These stadiums are filled with sound, and when we play together, think of this trumpets, tubas, and it's 50 of them. Like, it's 50 tubas, and all of them playing the same note in harmony. It's such an amazing feeling that you get, and a love that you have when you get to experience, when you get to you're engulfed in sound every day. It's a love that is later stripped away because you graduate from college and there's no place
Oh,
to go after that. So me and a friend of mine actually working on some things to do to kind of cultivate that missing, lacking in the reality where there's no place to go after college when it comes to big band. But you got to check out some when things, if when next time there's a marching band performance, I'm sending you an invite and we got to get you in the space because that's
I would
whew,
love
I'm gonna
that.
show you. I'm gonna share a video.
I'm with you. There when you said bathed in sound, it really is a baptism. It really is an immersive experience that it's beyond the intellect. And when I told you about like words being so inadequate and you got to like break through that shell, how do you even get information into a human being? I think music is one of the best ways to break through beyond the intellect and speak directly to the cells and the vibrating structure of your body. That like, the ancient people knew this, and even let's say the music of the time of Bach and Mozart, they knew that too, that if you go into a cathedral and you play this music and there's this chanting going on, it feels like a cascade going down your body. You feel tingles going down your spine. It's really powerful. And
Is there a
that,
word for that?
God, like maybe synesthesia, like when you hear something and it gives you tingles or something.
Synesthesia. Okay, I need that. I needed that since I was like 12 years old. Synesthesia.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this word? Every time she's saying, I just get the chills and it hits and brrr, like, what?
Yeah. And it's way more than just an intellectual experience of music. It's very passionate. It's very juicy. It's like what it is to be, not in a bad way, an animal. Like when you're an animal, like I smell bacon and I salivate. When you're an animal, like your senses rule you beyond your intellect. And that can also be true of something that is transcendent. That when I hear music like this in a cathedral setting, like tears come to my eyes and I feel like smiling and crying at the same time. Like that's the beautiful animal part of us.
Yes. That's exactly it. Yeah, smiling and crying at the same time. Probably another good analogy I just picked up for you.
Yeah.
Because I got so many. Again, it's a love. I didn't. And you ever talk to somebody who say they love music, but they well, I really don't like it like that. I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't love music? What happened to you? What tell me your life story, because I gotta find this. I gotta help you figure this out, because it's not you don't love music, it's something else. Let's figure this out, because I know music.
There's some pity and some concern definitely in there. I hear you.
Right. So first frequency I'm throwing is I'll do 90. Let's see. Can you see this? Actually, I'm gonna swap cameras right here. And see if I can pin if I share this. Come on, word put me saying. Use this video and I flip the camera there.
I think we're getting some success. Yeah, good.
Then I pin that there. I think I can spotlight it for everybody.
Do you need me to mute my thing so that it's not going to go? I'm muting.
Okay. Let me make sure it's actually doing it. I can make host this co-host. Spotlight that one. Remove all 10 videos. Okay, so let me look on YouTube and see if it's on there. No, not yet. Okay. So is it here? Let me go back here. All right, go here. If I pin this one, remove spotlight, make that boom. Hopefully everyone can see that. Okay, there it goes. All right, here we go. So that's more spherical right there. And I'll go to, okay, we have the frequency generator here. It's at 52 hertz. I'm gonna move it up to 90, 93. So in that movement, now I'll hold that right here. And so at 93 hertz, we measure sound in hertz. Or, It just changed shape right there. Turn the amplitude down. Let's keep going. Going to a straight line. Another straight line. We're going to turn that down. Go to 93. We're going to add some more sand here. So again, as we see, the shapes change based on the sound that we're emitting to it within this experiment here. I'm adding sound. Adding sand. Sand is just basically like little rock or quartz crystals that we use. And the sound actually gives it form. Let's go up to another. We're going to go up to 200. Let's say 240. Forming. It's so imagine, because this is only a two-dimensional form of the actual sound. So imagine, let's say when you blow a bubble and it lands on the sidewalk or somewhere, you see that just a two-dimensional circle. Just imagine that they are, different curves, or like maybe a bubble here in the center. And say if you were emitting this sound, which is at 223 hertz, I'm gonna put that to 47. Turn the amplitude down. If you're singing, ooh, this vibration is happening all around you here. And these actually have a shape. That shape that Sister Aurora actually helps it to show you that in the still image that these are vibrating around you. Just as these crystals jumping, yours are moving too. We just can't see it. We'll keep going. Let's say we're going to take it to 261. Is that different? Let's keep going. I'm skipping around. We go to, let's say 392. Say. And you see the shape is moving, the shape is changing. This one here, simply because it's one of my students' favorite ones. Is like, oh, it looks like a fidget spinner. And I was like, yes, that's a good three-dimensional example of what this shape could possibly look like in a three-dimensional form. So again, sound creates shape. This is real. This is not science fiction. There's words for it, the actual math for it, geometry. When that's that guy actually with Aurora said, in one of the courses that I took, she was like, geometry refers to Earth as, giving it that sound, but it's not. Oh man, is it not going through? I hope all that, hope the images came through. I'm not sure. Wholeness family. And
I was able to see the sand on the plate very well. I hope that everyone else could see it too.
Okay. So it might have swapped over when I was talking. It might have kept bouncing back while I was talking. I'm not sure. Actually, look in the comments.
Good.
But yeah, so that's an example of it. Family, sending love to you. Hope you ever see that. And yeah, so these are cymatics. So sound actually has shapes, beautiful shapes. And the better we can tap into that gnosis that it is, the better we can take control of our ship, our vessel, and esoterically, physically, spiritually, electromagnetically. This is all you. Nothing is separate from who you are, what you're doing. So, alley,
the only technology that we really need is our own bodies, which is a divine technology, and our own bodies create these sound frequencies, or whatever, I don't know if we would call them sound, but create this music. And also we gain our form from the music that is around us. And music is in air quotes because it's cosmic music. It's the music of time. So I know, like, we're used to being like, okay, I'm going to play a note. I hear that note with the tiny vibrating hairs inside of my ear. I know it's music, right? But there's music is a time-based art, and there is an artistry to the organization of time. So this is big in sharing the information that I have from a cosmic perspective. Events are not random and events are not capricious. Now, this is hard because in this world that I came into, this dysfunctional barbarian world, events are random and capricious. Like, why does one guy get to be a rock singer and another guy works in a gas station? Like, why is this? We don't know. It's random. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't knit together perfectly the way it's supposed to. If we were in a pristine system where none of the software didn't have any flaws, like there's no hackers or anything like that, and it's just the system working the way that it's supposed to, all of the events of your life, of your many multiple incarnations, and everyone else that you know that you're interacting with would all be woven together in this beautiful, cohesive whole where everything makes sense. Where if you looked at it from the higher dimensional perspective, you would see that event in that guy's life connects to that person's event over there and connects with this over there, almost making a geometry, making a polygon, like a square or a hexagon or something like that, that there are bonds throughout time that create these beautiful structures, exactly like what you showed us with the vibrating sound on the plate. There are galactic superwaves, giant intelligence waves that are so giant that they might be like, this is the size of the entire galaxy. Like me moving my arm is actually the entire galaxy. So we're so tiny, we don't even see an arc of the giant wave, but there's a giant intelligence wave that is organizing time. So the big takeaway is, on a larger galactic perspective, you're in a perfect system where everything makes sense. But here in this earthly realm, whatever we want to call it, a realm or a social construct, or however you look at this place that we are, there are rules here that are not being applied evenly and things don't make sense. And the time events are not fitting together perfectly the way that they're supposed to, because there's been interferences of the things. Like there's a great cosmic composer, like you're supposed to play it like this, and then something else comes along and smashes the keyboard. It's like, but you will actually play this, is what you're actually going to feel. So think about our bodies. This is a big thing that I teach in my classes, that we were not intended to die ever. That death is a thing that's not supposed to exist, an aberration. An aberration, that's like picking your nose in public. Like, you are not supposed to do it ever. It's not supposed to happen. So in the chakras of our body, in the time anatomy of your body, you're not supposed to hit these membranes. Maybe I'll do a screen share and I'll show you with one of my pictures here. You're not,
that went into we talking about being competitive, in the space. Ooh, yes, let's do it.
You're not supposed to hit the membrane of death, which is where I'm wiggling my cursor here. Like, you're supposed to go up the center. Oh, it's like my thing working. Like, imagine going up the center, up the spine of this figure, and then all the way out the crown, the top of their head. That is how we're supposed to be navigating or circulating through this map of time. But now if I make my cursor go to the side, like I'm slanted at an angle, then too many of the trajectories of human timelines go to the edge. And this is like a vortex. It's like a waterfall. It's where you die. So this, in sharing this information with humanity, I also am trying to show you an abstract, non-anthropomorphic a representation of what is death. That, mostly people, they look at death and they think that there's like a hooded figure with a knife that's going to slash you down or kill you or whatever. I'm trying to show you death as like a map, like if you're doing bowling and the ball is supposed to go down the end of the alleyway, it's not supposed to go on the sides. All right. So start thinking of this membrane that's at the sides of the timeline as being like, that's where you lose. Like if your ball goes down the gutterway, then you lose your life, you die. None of us are supposed to ever be in that peripheral zone. As consciousness, we're supposed to fly right up the center and never have to die. Like just me coming here and sharing that seed, planting that seed in the garden of your mind, that is a radical, that's a revolution. Because there's all of these things that come here and they tell you death is inevitable, it is noble, it's a part of the seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall.
Became normal, right?
That's right. And even great religious figures, like I'm not being mean to anybody who's a Christian or anything like that, but I have great critique and I wear a cross too, but I'm emphasizing the everlasting life, not the suffering and death part of Christianity. So I take issue with any religion that has a death cult tendency, where it tells you to be a good person or to get to heaven, first you have to die, possibly suffer first suffer,
right, suffer,
then die, then you go to heaven. No, none of that is what we're actually supposed to be doing. We're supposed to live in this heavenly embodied state. That's the other truth seed that I want to drop here, that here everyone experiences death and disease like it's normal. To me, that is the real horror. It's not the barbarian value system of what's going on down here. We know people are very rude and impolite. It's really the sense that when little children come here, you know, they're very innocent and cosmic, and we start to teach them, oh yeah, one day you're going to die. You know, like, because maybe their grandma or their goldfish or someone in their life dies. And then they say, where did grandma go? Well, grandma went bye-bye. And then we tell them, and one day you're going to go bye-bye too. And then kids are like, oh my God. Like,
they obsessing about with that for years. Like I was one of those.
and that moment, it changes the dance of your DNA. Like your DNA up until that moment is doing this dance of freedom. And the dance of freedom says you never have to die. You never have to cease to exist.
Right.
You continually just exist. And then when we put that seed into a child's mind, then the child says, well, wait, one day there's just going to be boom, the end of the road, the end of the sidewalk. There's no more to go after that. And that's very destructive. It takes root in early years. And then that's the hardest thing for me to try to get across when I am indoctrinating people into this new worldview of flying rainbow lasagna. So this is what you can transform your ordinarily toroidal or donut shaped chakras. These donuts get transformed into this shape. And the mechanism for transforming it is your own belief. Like you do all the heavy lifting with your capacity to bootstrap yourself into a higher level of existence. So this is very challenging. It's not like saying, if I'm going to tell you death is not the end and death is not inevitable, then you might be like, well, show me. I'd be like, you got to be the first. That's it. That in all of this, there's a lot of people who might say to you, you will never do blah, 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 whatever it is. You'll never climb that mountain or you'll never do that thing. And it's just because no one has done it yet. So in your own personal experience, people might program you for failure to say, you are here in a body to become more and more weak and diseased, and then finally to die and decompose, and be like, you know, that's not true, but they'll be like, well, yeah, all these other people through human history died. Look at that. Billions
Where did they go?
of people.
Explain all that.
And then you have to be strong and tell yourself, I am the example of something new. That is what I have to share in terms of embodying the flying rainbow lasagna. So the woman who used to be in this body for the first 27 years of life was like murdered by psychic attack. The body should have just died. So I used flying rainbow lasagna as a supernatural cosmic being to come into this body and make it so that the body did not die. And I tell everyone, I'm the first, but not the only. I want to share this concept with others so that you're like, wait a minute, there are more options on the menu of life than simply to grow diseased and grow older and then die. That you actually have a different innate program on a DNA level. The great composer actually composed the music of your body to be everlasting and not to have to be destroyed. And there's a social overlay that tells you death is inevitable. It's going to happen no matter what. Death never existed until what is called the fall, but is really the end of the ancient world known as Atlantis and the beginning of this world that we call human history. And all of us that are here now, we're here at the time of ancient Atlantis, but you've got amnesia, got a mind wipe, and you don't remember that time when you were immortal. All of us were immortals.
Right.
The idea, like, I would never back then be like, I'm sitting here talking to Curtis and one day he's going to die. Like, no, that's not the way that things go. The expectation would be that we would both continue on our journeys, having wonderful, wild adventures, meeting each other over thousands of years. Like, I know you from 900 years ago. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that actually ties too, because I laughing. The last one I checked out, I think yesterday, I looked at galactic history, and that tied into another conversation we was having with Tribe and our secret energy Tribe vibes. And two things, we'll actually go back to this and go back and go forward. Right. So this was shared. It was root race of the terrestrial cosmic era, and it was going through. Yeah, when you said sine wave, I was like, oh, that reminded me of sine wave. This part of the sine wave. And it was talking about the ancient races, people coming through here. And then we've been here through all of these eras, and just, again, forgetting that that connection with the previous, even just forgetting the connection with your great-great-grandmother or grandfather today, where we live in a society where it's the oppression to get control of the people. We have to break those roots, connection from each other, so you cannot communicate. It's a movie that I saw. It's an old movie from like the 50s, where it's called Daughter of the Dust. But the example then they gave one of the ancestors, the elder there, who was practicing she was practicing African spirituality, but her children had all adopted Christianity, and to fit into society. And she said, as she was transitioning, she took a lock of her hair and she said, put this with your hair, keep it with you, carry me with you, keep my spirit alive, I'll always be with you. And some of the kids were like, no, that's that hoodoo, we don't do that anymore, Mom. And other ones like, yes, I'll keep you alive with me. And sharing that energy, sharing that essence of the elders, because it was a point in time, this coming back from the African aesthetic. I've learned stories where it used to be more oratorial, and the vibrations it would carry over time. When you have to write it down, you would remember it. And that was a practice of remembering the stories, remembering the songs, and putting those principles into action. And actually, it's Kwanzaa right now. If anybody who celebrate Kwanzaa, and you burn candles, you pour water, and water symbolizes knowledge, wisdom. It's one of those transmuting agents that has intelligence, and carrying that forward. Like, for example, here we have this 7 here, and they say right now we're going into this next place where they call it the 6th sun. And if you want to talk about something, we can. But the 6th sun, or this new future race where we are creating our new reality. And this is only done if you can carry what you've learned, these experiences from the past, into the next space to continue the song into the space, and knowing that we're all connected and we don't die. I think one of the most bamboozled, I think Malcolm X said, you've been hooked, you've been bamboozled. And the bamboozlement was the invention of death, like that you can die. Like, what? That changes everything. If you really get, because before, it's like that transition of between any era, like when we talk about money, going from dollars into, going from gold into dollars into swiping it like a card, and that into cryptocurrency. In every era, they was like, no, that's not money, that's not true.
Right.
Until you adopt the thinking, this is. Once that has hooked into the space, man.
That's right. It's a fallacy or a collective hallucination that everyone agrees to participate in. Therefore, it becomes truth. Like, meaningless pieces of paper are called dollars and we call them money, but it's really just an affectation. And it's the same thing with death. We are actually immortal beings. Like, think of it like we live in a time called Atlantis, where each one of us is an exalted being, and you can't actually kill us even back then. But what happened was we got dragged into a dream, and we're here like in it, like imagine your real body is in a state of suspended animation, but you're here in this world in a little body like that my little body is fragile. Like as a walk-in, I had to learn about that. I was thinking like, oh, nothing can harm me, blah blah. And then like after whatever, I think I was here a couple of years, I broke my toe, and I was like, wait a minute. If you can, yes, if you can have your body be destroyed and experience pain, then I have to take, you know, these things as possibilities. But that is not that's not what we were originally made for. Imagine that we've been drawn into this collective hallucination.
Right.
And people talk right now about the Great Awakening, and I imagine that to be not merely a political expediency where people suddenly realize like, like the government is corrupt, like I'm waking up. Not just that level of awakening, but imagine your real body is in a suspended animation, like your immortal body, and that you've been dreaming the whole time that you're this fragile creature here that needs to drink and eat and use toilet paper and all these things and can break your toe. And that for me, the Great Awakening is when we wake up to our true presence, which is this immortal presence of who you really are, like the you that you were before death was invented. And that means going back to a very ancient time. And in that ancient time, the way that we communicated was through, like you mentioned, oratory. Back then, we were all telepathic. So to say something, to intone something is really formal. It's like, I wouldn't just say like, oh, please give me another glass of water. Like that would be for internal casual talk. This would be for something that you want to reverberate throughout the ages, like giving a fancy speech. You would never be like, give me a cup of water, 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 water. It was reserved for only the most formal moments and only the most formal ways of doing things. And the grief and the loss and the fear that is all wrapped up in a world of death, we didn't experience that. We had a very different baseline calibration for who we are. And then we've been here in this world where there is death. I call it going through the washing machine. Like people get turned around, their consciousness goes through many, many cycles here. And it can make you threadbare. Like when you wash clothes too much and then the fuzziness, like the material gets very thin and it's not a warm, cozy sweater anymore. It's just kind of a thin, threadbare thing. I think that's how it feels like. So I'm really new. Like I haven't been through the wash cycle that much. And I'm super like, my colors are bright and I'm great, but I meet a lot of people here. And I think that they have a threadbare soul where it's just been like their colors have been washed away and faded in the, you know, constant, but that's not what our world is supposed to be like. That we're supposed to have continuity of consciousness where you remember who you were and where you've been and what you've been through, and all of those life skills pile up. And then you also know where you're going.
That's amazing. It's so many correlations. So family, before we continue, you can find Sister Aurora. Please give us where we can find you at online. Also, with for those who are coming to sharing spaces, knowing that there are options. This is another option that we're introducing to your awareness, and on the platform option. Instead of using YouTube, you can also find us on library.tv. That's LBRY.tv. There's no censorship there. You can post there and you can repost there. You can even post anonymously if you want to post something that, you know, all that is there. So library.tv is a new option. I think it's about 3 years old now, the platform, where you can upload. They even get paid in cryptocurrency. So I've already gotten paid maybe 30 cents, but that's more than YouTube have given me ever. And there's another space that we can repost videos from any channel on your own channel or anywhere else as well. Also, so Sister Aurora, where can others find you? They look forward. They want to take your course on full spectrum humans. Can you elaborate on that? You know, that your name, Full Spectrum Humans, and where they can find you.
Absolutely. So the name comes from the idea that all of these rainbow colors represent a layer of your being, and red is the physical, orange emotional, and yellow intellectual. For a very long time of human history, that lower lesson of the spectrum has been what has been defined as human. Like your physical body with some mammalian emotions and, you know, like the desire to reproduce, and then a little bit of intellect on top of there. And that was considered to be the definition of what it is to be human. And then maybe special holy people would meditate their whole entire lives and get up to the level of green, which is unconditional love, like a Buddha, a Jesus, a special person. But this was really the sense of like a bifurcation between lower self or ego self and higher self or multidimensional self. Basically, when I am saying full spectrum human, I'm trying to remind you that every single one of these layers is you, it belongs to you, and that it should be claimed as your birthright. And the lessons in my class are all about that. So look, in 2012, I decided that I was going to teach this formally like a class, like I told you, after figuring out how to even put things into words. And I recorded all of these lessons in a linear sense that makes sense. So I start off with lessons about like what are the chakras and how they are formulated, and then move into more advanced things like the flying rainbow lasagna. And I mostly over 7 years, I taught that. So there was like a 5-month long semester when you went through the class. But last year I had a couple of people ask me like, is there a condensed thing? Like if I don't have 5 months, how can I learn about this faster? Which is hard because like I can't teach you how to like play the piano overnight. It's very hard.
Right.
But I did a thing called a weekend intensive. So you can find the original class is called Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. You can find it on my website or just doing an internet search and it's on Teachable. And then there's live lectures that are available to the public without an extra fee or anything like that on YouTube. You would look for my playlists that say playlist for semester 2018 or whatever. You can also be a part of the class and join the class if you become my patron on Patreon. That's another good way where you can I'm not teaching the class formally. I'll tell you why this year, but you can still take the class, go through the lessons and ask me questions, and I'll still be your professor and teach you. But I did that approach for 7 years, which was a very intellectual approach that was about food for your mind, to kind of break through the shell of intellectualism, to get into these higher dimensional perceptive states that are very much about flow and not being analytical. Like when you're, Curtis, when you're playing, like you're in it, you're not necessarily thinking like, now I need to move my pinky, now whatever, B flat. Like you don't think
Right.
in that way.
Do
You
it.
feel it, you feel it. So all the stuff that I have that's lessons is food for your intellect, and it's kind of like learning your musical scales. You got to learn that stuff to be able to be free and be jazz. But this year, actually at the end of 2019, I really felt internally that everything had changed. So I do clothing, you can find my stuff on my website, you can still find the old lessons, but this year I started making music. And that's what prompted me to reach out to Curtis. Curtis left beautiful comments on some of my new songs that I have up on YouTube. And it made me understand like Curtis really got what I was trying to put into the music. It's stuff for me that is beyond what I can put into words. And I feel like we as a collective are moving into a mental headspace that is beyond talking. Like when you're like in the moment with, you know, a person that you love, like when you're getting passionate, sometimes it's like you just have to stop talking. Like it is about other things. Or when we talked about music cascading down you, it's a non-verbal experience. So this year I started to make music intentionally with the idea that I wanted to baked into the music. I wanted to have these concepts about your chakras and multidimensionality and there's math and formalism and all of that, but have it come into you in a way that is beyond language. So I did some new music over the summer that I released. That's an album. It's a 2-part called Divine Propulsion System. But I reached out to Curtis recently because I just made a new album. It is called Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. This shape is the flying rainbow lasagna. So I think that if you're new and you don't know my work or anything, the easiest thing to do is just do an internet search for the phrase birth of the flying rainbow lasagna. And what you'll find is my artwork, because this is a painting, you can't see it, but it's on the wall over there. That's also the album cover. This shape is in it too. So you'll find the music, the videos that describe the music, the clothing, if you want to wear it all around your town.
Have me some, definitely.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you look very dashing in it too, and anything else. So that, like, if you're a total newcomer, find Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And also, like, if you are new to these concepts or whatever, like, I feel the music makes it all very accessible. Like, just put on some headphones and listen to some effing awesome music, and that it speaks to you on a deep level. I call it the homing beacon. Like, I come from another world. You don't fly there in a special metal ship. That's not how you get home. You get home by going through these frequencies and using your body like the vehicle to get there. So, music can really change your mood. Like, I can be in the worst crap mood, but I put on a good song and I'm like, this is awesome. I'm instantaneously feeling better. That's the type of music that I make. So that's what Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is. There's some songs that are peaceful and that are about inner meditation. There's some songs that are like kick ass and they have a lot of electric guitar, because sometimes you need that too, like, like powerful music.
Yeah.
And then there's some songs that are also just like peace, like for zoning out peacefully. Like at the very end of the album, there's a song that's just like flying out into the vast reaches of space. And I don't really have lyrics in my music right now. Like, the titles say a lot, but I feel that when I listen to music with lyrics, sometimes the words take away from the feeling that I'm trying to go into. Like, whatever the singer is singing about, like, that's all I can really focus on. And I wanted these to be transportive devices. So I use a lot of soaring vocals that sound very heavenly or celestial, but not necessarily with words. And that's what I'm trying to bring forth, like my heritage, where I come from, what I offer to the humans of this place. I come from a very loving world where life is respected, and the way that we communicate is literally through song, through singing, and through music, and through artistry, and through dancing and gesture. And that is respected. Like, that subtleties are respected. And that I want to invite you to this super cool cosmic dance party. And how you get there is by tuning into the mental frequency of that place. Just like a dream, you go to a dream by aligning your mind with that place. So I make the music as a homing beacon or breadcrumbs that you can use to follow me to the world of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. That's amazing. Again, don't forget, I'll drop the link in the comments, family, so you can follow that link, get there as well. As we'll drop some more in the comments after. If somebody in the comments, that's watching already found it, please drop the link in the comment section and continue to flow. Also, sister, I wanted to also show some movements of the shape. I know you have an animation for it, and while you do it, I'll play a little ditty, little short thing while you find you.
I love it. You play while I share the animation. That's a beautiful collaboration. That was so beautiful, Curtis. Thank you. And very much of a feeling of like flying in space. I shared an animation that showed, I didn't do the animation, I worked with an animator, the different like orientations of
Mm.
the lasagna and how it can go. And if you're, I don't know if you're feeling like playing more, I did want to share, I have an animation queued up about the Merkaba as another
Yeah.
shape that's one of these cosmic geometries. And I'll make it go in a fast motion
And
because it's
actually,
kind
that
of
one is actually on YouTube, family. So if you want to find it, actually, I'll find it while that one is there. If you don't already have it, just Aurora, and I can share it in the comments. This is one of my favorite meditation tools too.
that would be
So tutorials.
fantastic. Do share it. The whole reason why I worked with a lovely friend named David who connected me to an animator that could make this. We did it as a service to share with other people of what this looks like. So, you know, this flying rainbow lasagna is a vehicle. It's a transportive shape. I do this while I'm also doing the Merkaba. And the Merkaba is the beginning of this visualization where we've got equal-sided pyramid that's pointing upwards, and it begins to spin, and then you create an equal-sided pyramid that is pointing downwards. And the balance of these two pyramids is a major part of your energetic anatomy. I did not invent the Merkaba or the star tetrahedron. This is ancient, and it comes to us from that time when we were immortals. Like that, this is what we taught our school children, you know,
Hmm.
upon entry into kindergarten. We taught them this shape, and it's used for a protection, like a shield to keep out what you don't want, but also for nourishment to bring into your body what you do want. And then as we move forward in this animation, you'll see there's a point when we're able to transform the star tetrahedron into an octahedron, an eight-sided type of pyramid shape. And that's that connection between the physical, biological, cellular world and the non-physical world of pure time. That is also a part of your anatomy. So coming up here, you're going to see that it starts to turn into an octahedron. And all of that is an internal process of your perception. So the changing from a star, from one crystalline shape into another crystalline shape, you're literally making a change on a cellular and genetic level and energetic level. But the way that you are doing it is through a willpower. It's through an inner muscle, not necessarily a muscle of your physical body. So the way that I do my practice, this flying rainbow lasagna practice, the first thing is, and I teach this in my class, I do sun gazing. That's using my inner eye to get light energy from the sun, because it takes a lot of energy to do this. So you need to eat some good food, some healthy food, do your sun gazing to have plenty of resources to work with. And then the first thing that I do is I make one of those Merkabas around me as a protective shield. And then as I do that, I start to move my singularity point inside of me. I start to make it bounce in all these different directions. And as it bounces, that bouncing motion is what creates this oscillating back and forth motion. That might sound like an abstraction, like I'm just talking about bouncing. What does it do when you experience this?
Mm-hmm.
So the result with your beingness is that your inside and your outside begin to communicate. So when I say inside, when I say inside in this world to everyone, what does that mean? It means like what's behind your eyelids, like your beingness and your soul and your consciousness and your hopes and your dreams and your passions and everything that's intangible. Like the stuff that's outside, I can touch that stuff. Like I can touch your nose. Like we know that that is there. And like we can touch the table. We know that that is there. So also this is a transformation in human society because everyone can agree. It's like, yes, this is your nose. Yes, this is a table. But not everyone can agree on things like these are the feelings in your heart. Like this is your emotional realm, or this is your passion, or this is your like how much does your passion weigh? We don't know. We can't put it on a scale, or we can't measure how many inches is your creativity. Like we can't measure it like that. So science just backs away slowly. Like I'm not even going to touch those questions with the 10-foot science pole because we don't know the answer. So this is the distinction in this world up until this point. But when you start to do this dance with your DNA, this flying rainbow lasagna oscillation that rearranges your DNA, your inner world of your dreams and your passions and your feelings and the stuff that is not measurable begins to become a part of the outer world. And then the outer world feeds back in a recursive loop into your inner world. So imagine having a dream or an inner desire, like a lucid dream, and then experiencing that very thing in reality. I dreamed about it, then I experienced it in reality, and then that experience fed back into my inner world, and then I dreamed another dream, and then the next day happened, and then my experiences that I dreamed, I had the next thing. So your life experience is no longer like a cut down the middle thing, where on this side, what you have is where you're dreaming or fantasizing or whatever, and then here's cold, hard reality. Reality sucks. Becomes interactive, that these two levels of reality begin to swim back and forth. And then reality is not just a world of cold, hard objects. Reality responds to you, that what you think and feel and dream actually affects objects around you. Yes, it does. What science would call a magic or a miracle, you begin to experience through combining together the inside and the outside. And this is another big thing. A lot of people are very afraid of pole shift because, like I said, we are all here incarnate or re-experiencing. We've all been here for Atlantis. We know what that level of destruction was like. And so everyone thinks that pole shift right now is going to be like the Earth. Like, here's the North Pole and the South Pole, north, south to south, north. Like, we're just going to flip the pancake and everyone's going to go, like my pancake, like fall off the edge because everything gets so, like, because that is what happened in the past. There was a catastrophe. The poles shifted and our entire world went to crap. Like literally, that was the fall of consciousness. That was when we had to learn how to keep warm over a fire, like rub two sticks together and make a fire. Like, we're going to be cold if we don't do this. Basic survival is what we had to face. So the trauma that was a profound trauma, people are afraid of experiencing that again. They are afraid that this time there's going to be a pole shift where you're going to lose all of your electricity and you're going to have to hunt for deer and stay alive and eat bear fat. It's not going to be like that. And I'm here to tell you, it's a pole shift, not north-south to south-north, but the inside to the outside, and then the outside to the inside. So the real question is, in your experience of pole shift, what are your insides like? I like my insides. I'd be very happy. If my insides became my outsides, I'd be fine with that, because I've done a lot of work on like emotional healing and transcending trauma and finding inner peace, that I did a lot of good stuff that we're all supposed to do. So if I were suddenly like, if you could read my mind like an open book, I'd be like, here, read my mind. Like, I don't have anything to hide. I'm not afraid of that. Or if my thoughts affected reality, it would make beautiful things because I'm not coming from this place of trauma and pain and whatever. That's what I'm trying to talk about, that our experiences over these past couple of decades have been all about, you're supposed to do the inner work so that when you get to this magical moment, you're not like, oh, like I'm vindictive, I want to like get my boss or something like that. Like, you don't move into the moment of pure potential where you can do anything and be like, oh, good, now I'm going to get revenge on that old boyfriend or that old whatever. That's it. None of that empowerment is meant to be used in that way. So we're supposed to come into our empowerment to be able to create. If you're going to manifest something effing awesome. Like, here is how we can all have plenty of food and water. Here is how we can all have resources. Here is how we can all do this. So that is the moment that we're at right now. I came in 2001. I came in as a walk-in. This world was very much in turmoil. Like, it was right after 9/11 with the World Trade Centers. And that was a black magic spell. And it was a hypnosis. It controlled a lot of people's minds. And I came into this world and I'm like looking around like I thought I was the only sane person in this insane world. Okay. my job over the past 19 years has been to get people to, encourage you towards doing the inner self-cultivation and to get you prepared for the moment when it's time to flying rainbow lasagna. And that's like saying, like, if I were an art teacher, I am an art teacher, I would encourage you, like, let's do these anatomy sketches and let's learn, like, how do you draw an eye and how do you draw an ear and everything like that. Over many years, let's learn how to do this so that when the moment comes and, like, here's your canvas, here's your reality, paint your masterpiece, you're ready, you're prepared. So that's what all of the classes that I was telling you about, like, all of those classes are designed to prepare you for the moment that we're in right now, which is like a diving off point into pure freedom and self-expression. So you want to do all of that hard homework. Just like if you're an athlete, you want to go to the gym and you want to do all of the workouts so that on the day that you actually have to run the marathon, you're like, yeah, my body is ready, I'm prepared emotionally, and I'm going to make it to the end. And in this case, the marathon is a soul migration. We come from one, let's say, a quantum state down here that's materialism. It says, like, reality is just dead stupid matter, it just is what it is. But then this is where we're jumping to up here. That would be considered a magical reality, like a quantum reality, where what you think and what you feel and how you project onto the objects of the world makes them different. You paint with your mind. And that's a good thing if you've done your homework and you learned your anatomy and now you know how to paint with your mind.
Exactly. Indeed. Exactly. That's so amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, we continue to have these jewels. Question, any new things you want to add to projecting within your class this year, within your courses people should expect?
Yeah, because you know something? So, okay, I'll just say, like, when I first started recording the lessons formally, it was in 2013. And so much about our context has changed and shifted. The basics of what I was teaching still applies, but then also we're in very uncharted territories. So one of the basics that I was always talking about is, like, if this is a map of your own personal time body, like how you're shaped in terms of your timelines, this central convergence point here, where all the timelines kind of meet up in the middle there, I always say to everyone, if you have this, you have the inevitability, it's like baked in, it's programmed into you for that reconnection point. That's like going back home, or a reconnection to divinity, that it's like, it's innate as a potential inside of all of us. And that's still truthful. I would still teach that, but here's the real limiting factor. How many games do you have, like, on your video game? Like, how many quarters do you have for the pinball machine? If I'm going to go back to the previous century, like from where I came from, you put the quarters in the machine and then you have one pinball and you can play until your character's dead, right? So a lot of people falsely presume that you have an infinite number of pinballs to be able to get through this labyrinth of experience.
Right.
And maybe you don't have an endless number, like, oh, game over, try again, game over, try again. That's how a lot of people treat their existence here, like game over, try again. Oh, well, I'll just die again. I'll throw another life out the window, throw another life out the window. And you don't have an endless amount of sidewalk to be able to do that. Like at a certain point in this labyrinth experience, the sidewalk is not being paved anymore. The future is not being created as it once was. So it's so much of a presumption to think, like, I'll get that chance either today, tomorrow, next week, next life, or I'll fix up all of those mistakes at some point. You don't have any more time to be able to do that, because the time that we're moving into is a moment of all time is now. Not a moment of, oh, the future, like, I'll do that next Tuesday. Like, when you get to the all time is now moment is called the singularity. But it's different than science is singular. It's different than transhumanism. You guys can tell I'm not a transhumanist at all, but people describe that moment of all beingness as, humans melding their mind with an AI computer or something like that, or the singularity as being the event horizon around a black hole. But it's a moment of all beingness. And what we've been experiencing, especially over the past year or 18 months or so, is an acceleration in terms of our time speed. So even though you might look at your wristwatch and it still says 1 hour has passed, this year, within that 1 hour, you've actually experienced millions of years of cosmic time. So over the past year, what I noticed was, like, I would get up in the morning, I would do some stuff, I would go out and walk my dog, and by the time I came home in the afternoon, it felt like that what I did in the morning was a million years ago. Like, I called that guy, but that was a million years ago. And the answer is, it was a million years ago. 1 hour went by on the conventional clock that we agree to, but due to time dilation, outside of this bubble of time, time is moving at a very, very accelerated rate in the larger cosmic sense. So as we're getting closer and closer to our moment of breakthrough, when everything happens all at once, it's a magical moment, we're getting faster and faster. 1 minute of our time can be a million years of the time of the true world.
So we have, like, when Saturn just came through, it was, like, Saturn, we move at 1,000 on Earth, it spins at 1,000 like per second. I think Saturn spins like 22,000, something like that, for it, and it spins. So it's so many. Yes,
the movement relative. That's what time is relative, all right? And music and vibration is also about relative movement. So have you ever had that sense where you're sitting in a car or in a train and the train next to you starts to move, but you think that you're going backwards because everything is relative? That is what we are experiencing now in terms of time. So like, a lot of people think, like, where are the good aliens? You know, like, it's a valid question to ask, like, where's the good guys? Like, we know that there's lots of evil aliens and we can see them in everything and they're messing up time. Where are the good aliens? The real answer is that they're here, but that they experience time in a higher dimensional way that is nonlinear, that makes it difficult for us to join them in that world. And my job has been to try to plant the seeds of a different type of understanding of time to the people in this time and place, so that you could even have a conversation with these higher dimensional beings, not from the future, but from outside of the time bubble. Like, you're here swimming around in the time bubble. They don't live in this neighborhood. They live in a completely different context. And they're, I'll affirm to you, very loving, very cool, very Christ in the best sense of Christ. Like, when we talk about Christ, we talk about caring about others, wanting to heal others, wanting to feed and clothe others, caring about others as much as you care about yourself. There are definitely cosmic space beings that have that value system. So it's like, what's the problem? Like, we're all suffering down here. Like, why don't they just magically appear or whatever? The answer is, we have had to neurologically recalibrate to even be able to see and perceive them and have a conversation with them, because they don't experience time in a linear fashion. They jump off the surface of time and fly all around and then jump back down like a butterfly. They are free. They fly in any complex pattern, as opposed to humans that are like a little inchworm inching along on the surface of a leaf that is very limited. So the good aliens, they don't hate you, they don't condescend to you, they don't pity you. They're doing everything they can in their power to, let's say, educate you or help you to grow into your greatness, so that you can see time, know what time is shaped like, and then you can actually fly, but not like with wings, but like you can actually navigate time yourself. That the best teacher or the best art or music teacher gives you the tools to teach yourself, right? Like, if I wanted to teach you, I would be like, well, first, let's just focus on basic literacy. Then you can go to a library and read books by all the experts, because I don't know everything, but there's a library. That's the same thing with our inner beingness, that my efforts are to raise humanity to the level that you awaken your inner eye, that you can do this with your DNA, and then you get to use your library card to read the records of the cosmos.
That's amazing.
Everything is out there. Like, you will be a total genius because you read everything that's there. So my job, or I'm rooting for everyone. My intention is to empower you and everyone else who's here with these types of literacy. You can be musically literate and know what's the next note to play in a song. And you can also be cosmically literate, where in the time field, you're like, okay, let's say you can see what's going to happen and anticipate. That part of being a good musician is anticipating, right? You're like, I know I'm going to have to play this note now. I have to get my fingers together so I can anticipate playing the right thing.
Right.
We need to do that with our consciousness as well, to be able to sense the future correctly and then anticipate so that we're in the right time at the right place. And when we do that right, it's called a magical synchronicity. And when everybody does that right, it's called being in the cosmic band. And imagine like how cool it is when you have 50 tuba players synchronized going together. How cool is it when you have a whole planet full of various organisms actually playing on the beat and actually synchronizing their lives and their reality? It's awesome. It's what we're working for. It's the cosmic dance party.
Right.
That is the impending moment that we're all working for.
Right. Yes. So, question: how can, because let's say I think you said you help with that you link with the animator, I think David, with that guy, and that aided in that type of animation. Is it, how can anybody else, like I would love to help because I use these teachings. How can I assist in, or anybody else who want to assist in aiding in more animations? Because the redundancy of seeing these formations is definitely, it's like this food. When we go, like I say, going from the tetrahedron, well, two tetrahedron, going into the macabre, and then going into the octahedron, into the toroidal field, and then going from there to flipping the toroidal field, and like creating these images, just having as many as possible is phenomenal. So
So like, I mean, I would love to do a formal fundraiser or fundraise for a specific animation project. I haven't done that. What happened with, I have a friend and student of the class named David, who reached out to me years ago and wanted to facilitate, because like, for anyone who doesn't know, to do animations, you have to have a really super computer and you have to have these different rendering programs that use an enormous amount of processing power. It's expensive if you don't have that stuff. So what David ended up doing was connecting me to a person who's a professional animator, and he didn't even speak English, this guy. But what I did was I drew hieroglyphics, like pictures of what I wanted, and then he would make them, and then I would, get back to him like, no, this part needs to be different, or this part shaped like this, or whatever. So that was many years ago. I don't know if I could reconnect with him or do it or whatever, but I would love to, if people wanted to do this. We'll do a fundraiser to have a particular budget to create a particular animation so that this is like whatever, like open source, so that you can see and learn these things. And then I could contact whatever, there's a variety of different freelance animators to take on the project and actually do it and actually make it. I think that would be fantastic. And I think that's very much along the lines of these collaborative art, music, teaching sculptures that are coming forward.
But then just for the kids, giving it to the children, like, here, take this.
If a magical fairy gave me millions of additional dollars beyond what I really needed for myself, that is what I would do. I would literally create a whole animated suite that is not in the English language, because it should be for anybody that speaks any language, and it should be for children too, taking people through like the basic building blocks, how these shapes fit together, and then the more complex movements. So I have an old animation on YouTube called I think it's called The Conception of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. That is a short and not sophisticated animation, but it's coming from that direction.
Definitely gave that to my 1-year-old.
Awesome. That's why I made it. Because, and also 1-year-olds that are here, they're totally on a mission. They didn't accidentally get born in the year 2020 down here at this time. They're like, okay, like those people are needing help. I'm going to have to go down there, get born. They're here to help us. Completely. Yeah. So I give them a lot of respect. The little people that I meet, they get a lot. And sometimes I think they recognize me from like the cosmic realm. I see these kids at the park, like little kids playing or whatever, and they see me and they're like, oh, like, I know, they have recognition on their face, and then they wave at me like crazy. I'm like, hi, I'm so happy to see you down here. Like, yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
Right. I see you later.
That's it. Exactly. He's like, I know you.
Yes, I definitely feel that a lot of times too. But I love to play and have a great time with kids. I'm definitely going to introduce you to Wealthy Bot. That's something that we engineer in the Secret Energy Supreme Solutions Lab. We can get some current flowing too.
Wonderful. I'm so excited about that. Yeah, I would do like a little storyboard where like first this, then this, then this, and then talk to the animator and see if they can even do that. And if not, then I can change it or whatever. And then it would be amazing to have that be like a resource, because so much of this information, when I get it from the cosmos in here, it's a picture or an image, doesn't have words.
Right.
And then the challenge is, oh my God, like how am I gonna describe with totally inadequate language and words what I'm actually seeing? Because when you're in the cosmic realm, you just feel it. You don't have to have a narrator. But in this world with technology, we have to narrate it or write it out in subtitles so that people know what's going on.
Right. I popped in to see if anybody had any questions. I didn't see any pop up, but one more opportunity. If you have any questions, anything, let it fly. As we value your time, all those who tuned in today and all those who will be tuning in, we give thanks for your energy, creating with us, dancing with us. Again, we just, with Aurora, we only share the tip of the content what is in her class. Oh my goodness, please go check it out. Yeah. And just honor the reflections that came through today and the wisdom that came through, because it's a lot of content that is so applicable to you and your current. So it's definitely a whole lot of value in it. And she doesn't charge, $3,000 for these things. And tap in, get it. That's how you expand.
And I have something queued up. I'll show you from the class, but also yes. There's the class, and you can access by becoming a patron for like $25 a month, but also people contact me for scholarships or sliding scales or whatever. Like I always throw that out there. I've done that for years because I've always said it matters to me way more that a person is enthusiastic and they wanted to learn about it, like they have a great passion for playing their instrument, than whether they have enough money to actually buy a guitar. I want the guy in the band that really wants to play, not just the guy that has enough money to go to Guitar Center and buy an instrument. So that's it. Let me do a screen share real quick. Yes. And let me show you this. Here, I have it all set up. I just have to move a thing here. This is so for the 2019.2 semester, what I did was I took, I'm sorry, my words are stumbling here. Here is an image from a painting that was in progress, like a drawing that I did. And then the heavy red marker line on top of there this was a homework assignment that I gave out to my students. So I took my painting and then I said, now you're going to take this and you're going to draw kind of like on top of it. And that was how I went through it. So first drawing the red chakra, then this is the orange chakra. You can see where that just popped up. And then let's move ahead a little bit. Let's see down to the yellow chakra, because when you see the drawing all finished and completed, there's a lot of overlapping lines. It can be a little hard to know, like, what am I even looking at? So this kind of deconstructed it. Let's see if I have, this is where the green chakra relates to how it fits on top, like how the puzzle pieces fit together. I give then how the blue puzzle piece fits on top of there, then the indigo puzzle piece, then all the way up to your violet puzzle piece and how that fits inside of your head, and how then you can see how I drew the human figure. That was a little bit of a fast forward, but that's the end goal again of empowering each person to know what this is your body, how it's shaped like, and how to understand those basic proportions. Like the size of the red, orange, yellow, etc. circles, they're not random or arbitrary or just because I think they look cool. Those are all proportions that are part of the musical formalism. I didn't invent it. Talk to the management. I didn't invent it. They did. But I would also, spoiler alert, I'm the management, you're the management, like we're all the management, but then we come here into this experience. So all of this stuff that I teach, it might be more like remembering to a lot of you. You might be like, I know this deep inside, because you do, because it's like written in the structure of your body. It's baked into who you are. And my goal or my role here is more to remind you or put a mirror in front of you of who you really are. And then I'm very much about like, yeah, go free and fly. Like, you know, like you encourage people towards their greatness. Now go take it and run with it.
Your seatbelts is on. You got your macabre going. All right. See you when you get back.
I'm a very responsible teacher. I do teach you about safety belts completely, but it's like, go paint a beautiful picture with the reality creation mechanism of your mind. That's how you can tell I'm a good space being. Like I'm a good supernatural creature. I'm not power tripping. I'm not going to ever say to you like, oh, you have to ask my permission for all of your cosmic plans and designs. Like you have to go through Aurora first before you're allowed to do anything. I've never done that. And that's the evil ones, the wicked aliens, they do that. They'll be like, we'll give you this, but then you have to do this for us. Like it's very quid pro quo. And it's that whole vibe. You got it. You making the right, that is their machinations. And I'm more like this. I'm totally take it or leave it. I'm like, hey, like, let's jam. This sounds great. I've got these ideas. Take it. Like, I'm not like, oh, this is a secret and I'm going to patent it. And only if you give me $1 million will I give it to you. I'm like, no, like you can understand and learn all about this at any level of society. It's meant to be accessible, and it's meant to be, the more of us that play good music, the more that it benefits the entire band. Trust me, like you want other people to be happy, healthy, abundant, and mentally in tune, because that makes a beautiful world for us to inhabit together. This cacophony of bad music that we've got down here is really uncomfortable for all of us, even to the point of having chemicals and frequencies and things that are affecting our bodies. That I didn't spray that stuff in the air, some other jerk face did, but it's affecting all of us. So the retuning of all of our instruments and the symphony here, it benefits everyone.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Sister Aurora, it's always a pleasure to connect with you. We usually, get on the phone and talk for, quite some time. And creating together is what we came here to do. All of us who are tuning in, we honor you, your vibration. We look forward to hearing more from you. Keep following, subscribe to Aurora's page. It's Flying Rainbow Lasagne on YouTube, right? Subscribe.
My channel is Flying Rainbow Lasagne. I'm easy to find. And also I think there's a bunch of ways that you can connect with me on Facebook too.
Yes. So let me check if you have any questions. Feel free to zoom back out. This is I don't see any questions in there. But also all my secret energy family. So Aurora is also, we although we tried to hydrolux with the water, we are definitely, connoisseurs of water, pureness. This is phenomenal. Check it out, as well as the monatomics that we offer, the Wholeness, all great stuff to increase your spin, increase your vibrations, increase your clarity. So remember, what you put inside comes out. So let's get your temples right inside, because this is an amazing vehicle and we are on an amazing journey together. So let's keep creating, let's keep the band going. So we're going to end the podcast and continue to build on our end more, and we're going to send you off in love and vibrations. Oh, did you want to share a song on our way out? Any track, anything?
Oh my goodness, I would really love to. Do you want me to play something with my instrument? Do you want me to play something? Let me because I do actually have my software all set up. I want to play a little bit from like I did these guitar solos that I really, really love and enjoy. I'm going to actually move my camera a little bit too, so you can see me a little bit better. This one is This one is the guitar solo from a song called "This Song Renders the Listener Inedible to Monsters." All right. It's like the songs that I write have magic in them, and I do that intentionally. And so what I didn't play it on this, but I'll turn my thing. Can you see my thing? Let's see if you can. I'll turn it without breaking anything.
Hey, nice.
But you can see my thing. So I didn't write the song on this keyboard, but this is like, it's very expressive. It's got all of these different, I basically, here, more, listen. Here we go. So I hope that doesn't sound too loud. Is that sound check okay? Let me just play a little.
It can be louder.
Oh, here, let me turn it up. I didn't want to blast your ears with it being too loud. Sound check here. Is that any better?
I know it's staying the same. So maybe Zoom has that maybe turn off the microphone and then plug in there. Because it's coming, it may be coming through the mic and it's adjusting accordingly.
Test, check on the mic. How are we doing?
Sound good.
All right, cool. This song renders the listener inedible to monsters. Thank you for letting me play a little bit. Thank you so much.
Woohoo! Let's go. I love it.
Yes. I love the guitar sound, but I will tell you, I found it very comfortable to have to play the guitar. Like, you have to have your wrist kind of bent like this and this kind of around like this. Very difficult on my posture. So I love that I can play it with my arms kind of stretched out like this, but still have all of that expressiveness. I love digital instruments, but I'm way more of a analog type of person. But this is so much fun to play. So yeah, I rock out here on a regular basis, making all sorts.
And we'll link up soon and rock out together.
I would love to collaborate with you on an actual song. Your saxophone playing was beautiful, and we have we have the common musical ground. We both love Saint Coltrane so much. So
yes,
I'd love to make something from that direction.
Definitely. All right, family, we're gonna catch y'all on the next podcast. Thank you for joining us. Sending love to you. Keep vibing in the resonance at top speeds. Make sure to like, subscribe, and check us out on onetribe.io, where you'll find us and even have soul coaching sessions, or those who are in the cryptocurrency space. I definitely am the guy